Hello, my name is Marci Edwards, she, her. I'm 18 years old, and I was adopted from Jingdezhen, Jiangxi, China.
Hi, my name's Cosette Eisenhauer. I was adopted when I was 14 months old from Zhanjiang, China. I am now currently 19 years old. I have an adopted brother also from China. He's from Dalian, China.
Hello, this is Gwei Strong-Allen. I'm 21 years old. I was adopted from Shanxi Province on March 17, 2002 at age 3 years old.
Hello, my name's Laney, and I am a transracial adoptee. I actually was adopted when I was 10. My family came and got me from Guangdong, which is really down south of China, and it was pretty awesome, honestly. I've been on the plane for like the second time. It was so awesome. Just, I guess, flying across the sea. It was experience that I never had before. So as a 10-year-old, it was like the best thing that ever happened.
Hi, I'm Yamada-Heidner, and I'm currently 17 years old. I live in Seattle, Washington, and have for the past 16 years. I was born in 2003 in Yichuan City in Jiangxi Province, and I was adopted when I was 14 months old, so that was in 2004.
My name is Pecora. I am 21 years old, and I was adopted from China at around 6 months to a year old.
Hi, my name is Jada, and I'm 17 years old. I was born in Ruzhen, China, and my parents adopted me when I was 13 months old.
My name is Zoe Seymore. I am 20 years old, and I was adopted from Jiangxi Province, China at 11 months old. I have a younger sister who was also adopted from Jiangxi Province, and I live in Texas.
My adoption story, I am adopted from closed international adoption, meaning that my parents found an agency and agency helped them find me. Sadly, my birth parents couldn't take care of me in China, so my mom one day decided to put me in a little basket and put a note in it saying my birth date was red, and she brought me to a busy area, put me down in the station, and she left.
I was found 2 days after I was born on June 11, 2001. I was found at the Po2 hospital, and I was sent to the police station, and then they sent me to the Zhanjiang's SWI. And I was in the orphanage for about 2 months until I became a failure to thrive baby, basically where I was unable to thrive in the orphanage. I would have died in the orphanage if I continued to stay in the orphanage. I went to a foster home for the rest of the 12 months before I got adopted. I got adopted on August 11, 2002, and I moved to Dallas, Texas, where I'm with my family currently.
I was found when I was 1 month old outside of a pottery factory and taken to the orphanage, but then I was put into a foster family with a foster sister. And then when I was 1 year old, I was adopted by my mother, literally on my birthday.
Growing up, I actually lived in a couple of different foster homes and also orphanage for a year or two. So I guess I had a pretty diverse experience being an orphan.
Thankfully, I don't remember that, but the next day, someone found me. They brought me to the orphanage, and ever since then, I was in the Shanxi Province orphanage. In my 3 years of my life, I really don't remember much, but I do remember that developmentally, I was delayed because I didn't get enough support and love that I should get, and also have evidence around my ankle that I was tied up. I didn't know how to speak any English, and I got brought and raised in Boston, and now I live in Washington State.
I would say a pro to being adopted is that you're different, and that makes you unique. I think it's incredible to have something that not everyone has in the world.
A pro of being adopted is spanning 2 cultures, and there's also cons to that, but what I really like about it is you are able to understand and learn about 2 worldviews, 2 perspectives, 2 cultures. You get to learn about their history, their food.
Some of the pros to adoption is, one, we have like a second chance in life. We're able to have opportunities we wouldn't necessarily have in China. We are given a second life, but at the same time, it's not all surrounded around that.
Probably have to be the adoptee community. Over the past couple of months, I've gotten more involved in various Facebook groups, such as Subtle Asian Adoptee Traits and China's Children International. So it's been pretty great being able to connect with different adoptees all over the world, and to hear their experiences. And this past August, I started Sisters of China, which aims to connect female Chinese adoptees. So it's been wonderful being able to share our experiences and also being able to bond over some of the issues that we face as Chinese adoptees.
The thing about adoption is definitely being able to come home and knowing the people is there to support you and love you. Growing up in foster home, I didn't quite have that, so it's such a difference. And I do really appreciate that.
It's pretty cool to tell people that I am adopted. I think that's really unique about who I am.
Another pro is, I guess, being able to be authentic and be myself and have just different components in my life that make me different. So I guess they both kind of go hand in hand.
A second pro is that we're able to find a tight-knit community with other adoptees that kind of bond us all together, where we're all able to talk about what we all struggle with, and we don't judge one another because one of us might also be going through the same thing.
I'm 1 in 1,000 people who's adopted, so I feel very special.
For cons, I would say not completely feeling like I know who I am. And I know a lot of people struggle with that in general, but not knowing where I came from, who my birth parents are.
The con to spanning 2 cultures is that you're really not fully a part of one. So I'm not really Chinese, but I'm not fully American.
The cons that I can think of is that there's a lot of stereotypes for adoption, and it's really hard to answer some of the questions that people ask because they don't know how it feels to be asked those questions, such as, where are you from? I never know how to answer that. I never know if I should answer, oh, I'm from Dallas, Texas, or oh, I'm from China. Like, I just don't know, and that's kind of like a heartache in there. Like, to them it's very innocent, but to us it like hurts deep down, and we don't really know how to answer. Some of them are just really stupid, like, how much do you cost? Or it's really hard to process.
Not knowing my family history, ever since I was a little kid, I've always wanted to know what my birth parents looked like or just who they were. And it's kind of been challenging having to navigate life not knowing my family history. Like going to the doctor, they sometimes ask for family history, and that's something I can never provide them.
The cons is definitely the loss of identity. Even though I lived in China for many years, I can't really speak Chinese anymore. I don't remember much of the culture or the history, and that's just really unfortunate. I think one of the main factors that I guess play into this is I was adopted into a pretty much white neighborhood and township, so I had this I guess feeling and pressure that I have to fit in and lose my Chinese identity, and that's just really unfortunate.
Legal documents, showing your ethnicity, and using your legal name. Another thing is when I went back to China, I felt like I was the only one who couldn't speak the Chinese language, and whenever I got asked to speak the Chinese language, I just didn't know. It did upset me a lot, being only 11 back then, and not knowing your own language that you were born. That's so weird, and it really upset me a lot.
Another con is not knowing whether or not I have biological siblings or other family members, and so a lot of the unknowns can be very hard to cope with.
Con to adoption is really not knowing any of our health. That's something that I really wish I knew, was things about my health that my biological parents had. They didn't know. They didn't know anything about me. They didn't know anything about my family. They didn't know anything about my health. And so a lot of the unknowns can be very hard to cope with. Con to adoption is really not knowing any of our health. That's something that I really wish I knew, was things about my health that my biological parents had. that I might have. Might I have cancer? Might I have this problem in life? Might I have this? And it's something that I'll never know the answer to unless I find my biological parents, and it's kind of just a waiting game at that point.
So I think a moment for me that really kind of not really affected my adoption trauma, more just made me think about a lot of things in my life, was after my 17th birthday. A couple days after, I found out I might have a potential twin, and we reached out and we found the family and we met, and it was so cool. We look absolutely nothing alike. Everyone says our noses look the same, but other than that, we don't look anything alike. DNA tests, one said we're not related, the other one said we are, so we still don't really know. But I think it really affected me because it made me rethink everything I've ever known about my adoption.
So I have difficulty when I am left without any explanation for obvious reasons. Like when I go to parties or just events with someone else, but then we get separated and the person, not on purpose, leaves me behind. I end up getting a lot of anxiety and get really upset, more than I feel an average person who wasn't adopted would feel.
I was diagnosed with PTSD, mild one. I assume because of the orphanage, going to public areas, and even authority figures scared me. It was hard to get out of my box and comfort, and it was hard to have PTSD because a lot of my friends didn't have the same worries as me and the same struggles as me, so I felt like I was the only one who had PTSD because of the orphanage.
I learned about like the Hunan scandals, underground selling baby kind of thing, and it made me question my whole story of how I was found, and I learned a lot about, how things that we learn about our stories aren't always true. We don't really ever know what happened to us as a baby. We're only told what the orphanage tells us, what they know. Sometimes they hide things. They could be hiding information from me. I could have been, sold into adoption. I don't know. And I think that is the hardest thing for me, is just not knowing. Don't know why I was given up, not knowing if my birthday is my actual birthday, even though I was given a note that said it was. It could still possibly be fake. And so I think that was the hardest thing for me, is just having so many unknowns out there, not knowing my history, not knowing my family. That's probably one of the hardest things for me.
And the way I overcome it is I don't really overcome it. It just takes time, like any other stressor or trigger. Is just I have to learn to deal with these emotions, but it is an ongoing struggle of just learning how to deal with that trauma and that anxiety.
How I overcame this was because of little baby steps. My parents pushing me, my parents saying that they love me a lot, that they care about me, that they wanted me to go out of my comfort zone, a little bit at a time. And now, because I'm 21, I feel like I'm more mature, and it helps a lot being more mature and being more confident about who I am and myself.
Since I was adopted, I've been back to China twice. The first time was in 2010 when my family went to Chongqing to adopt my younger sister, and the second time was in 2019 when my family and I went on a heritage trip. So my sister and I got to see our birth cities, and in my birth city I actually got to meet my foster mother. So that was really incredible.
So I've been back to China 3 times, once to get my sister, once because my mom was teaching there in Xiamen because she had a Fulbright grant to teach there, And then this third time in 2018 when I studied abroad with CIEE. When I went in 2007, we went to go visit our orphanages and the bridge that I was found on, and that was kind of cool, but I don't remember much of it because I was only 6 at the time. But studying abroad in Shanghai, I stayed with a host family, so that was really interesting for me to see, how they live. They had 2 daughters, and so it was kind of interesting to see like how the kids live. I definitely observed, like the Chinese people, Chinese culture and life, and I love it there. I want to go back so badly. And it just really made me think, what if I hadn't been given up for adoption? Like, what if I had stayed in China?
I love traveling back to China. I've been back 3 times since I was adopted. My favorite part about traveling back is the food. But I have visited my orphanage twice, and I've met my foster mother, and it's just really nice to see how I would have been raised. The most recent time, I actually went with another adoptee who was in my adoption group, and we went to a small village in Jiangxi. It was just really interesting and eye-opening, and it was just fun.
I hope to go back to China in the future, maybe for study abroad, to brush up on my Chinese skills, or maybe just to visit my foster mother again. That would be pretty amazing.
And so that was definitely an interesting comparison to compare my life here in America versus the life in China, and then how I would be the same or I'd be different if I had stayed in China. And I think that was a really interesting thing to observe while I was there.
One of the biggest ones is the abandonment attachment issues, and I was 20 years old when I discovered that I really did have those types of issues, despite not wanting to admit it. And I would usually, growing up, brush it off as, oh, this is just who I am, I'm just a friendly person and sociable. Never chalked it up to the fact that it was deeply rooted in the fact that I was abandoned as a baby. That's just an objective fact. And it has affected my subconscious, because nowadays it's affects my relationships, whether it's romantic, friendships, or whatever it is. There's always a looming fear of, well, if they don't like me, they're gonna leave me, and when I meet people, I'm like, oh, I want them to like me, I like them, I'm social, whatever. And it's hard because not everyone is as trusting as I am at first, but I think all of that stems from me just wanting to be loved, to be accepted. I don't want people to leave me, so if I feel like someone isn't as open at first, I feel rejected.
Something that I really struggle with is identity and understanding kind of who I am. I feel like adoption, a lot of these things go together, and just a lot of the different concepts are intertwined with each other, and just in general, figuring out who you are, what your path is, and where you go from there.
I'm very selective with who I talk to about everything. I'm very closed off, and I think that's something due to being adopted. I am scared to let myself be open with people because I'm afraid that they're going to abandon me or leave if I do something wrong, or if I say something wrong, or if I become too much. Because it's happened once, it might happen again, who knows. And it's just that subconsciously thing that's right there.
I'm not necessarily a people pleaser, but I do try to make friends, and I feel hurt when they don't want to be friends back, for whatever reason. It's just a reaction that I have, and I know consciously that not everyone's gonna like me, and that's fine. But it is still such a trauma response that my body has to feel hurt when I feel rejected like that, because of the fact that I was abandoned at such a young age. And I feel like a lot of adoptees can relate, where some are very much so people pleasers, others do, acts of service, like, oh, do you need me to go run out and do this errand for you, as to show that they, love the person, or they want to still be their friend, or that they're willing to do something so they don't leave.
I struggle with my identity like most adoptees. I feel like I don't struggle with it as much, but it is very discouraging because I tried to find a community within the Asian American community at my school, but at the same time I didn't really fit in with them because they were able to bond over like Asian parents, going to Chinese school, but I wasn't able to like talk about my crazy Asian mom or something.
Another thing I think that I struggled with a lot of is feeling the pressure to be perfect, even though no person can be perfect. I think that's one thing that I've really put on myself, and it's really been hard to fight to not believe it, just because ever since I was younger, I've always had the mindset if I make a mistake or if I show my adopted parents that I'm not worth something, or that like they made a mistake, like if I do bad in school or anything, or if I'm not challenging myself, or if I make a mistake on something, that like they can abandon me instantly. And I know it's all subconsciously, but it's still a real thing that goes on in my mind always.
Big way to work through it, for me at least, is one, to go to therapy, and I know not everyone has access to that. I also talk to the support groups as well on Facebook, but I also try to live a little bit more in the moment. And I know that's very cliche, but I'm anticipating, when is this person gonna leave me? When is this relationship gonna end? Not all good things last forever, you know, there has to be an end to something. So by looking into the future like that, it's putting a crazy amount of stress and pressure on me, and it's just once more the abandonment attachment issues coming back that have been subconsciously there since pretty much day one. So the biggest way to help is therapy, and just look into the present and roll with the punches, which can be very difficult, but I found that getting worked up over the what is and when is someone gonna leave me isn't gonna help, but rather just kind of focus on what's going on in the present, and then that way when you're focused, if you can see it coming, you'll be ready. You know, sometimes people blindside you, and sometimes people surprise you, and for the most part, they won't leave you. If they love you, they'll stay. You know, if they're your friends, they'll stay. So I'm working on it through therapy and talking to people with similar issues, and that's definitely helped me get through.
And ways that I'm coping with it, I would say that I just joined Facebook and Instagram, and I'm able to find a much bigger adoptee community than I did without social media. I made friends with the adoptees in my area, which was only like 3 or 4. When I joined Facebook, I was able to see like hundreds of adoptees, like in the United States alone, but then worldwide. To be able to connect with them and find this tight-knit community was really eye-opening and really amazing, and I was really able to find my community there.
Overall, I think being adopted has its pros and cons, but I think it does make me unique, and I'm very proud to be a Chinese adoptee. And I look forward to meeting other Chinese adoptees through Sisters of China, and yeah.
So more about my adoption journey. Like, I've been on the search for my birth parents for 3 years. I started in 10th or 11th grade, and it's still hard knowing that there's nothing there. Like, I still haven't heard anything. I still don't know.
And then I guess the birth parent search, I recently started that after I found one of my foster brother who is not related to me, but anyway, we reunited over Facebook. I actually saw him right before COVID hit, and it was really, really great. So I'm really excited to be able to go on parent search in a few years.
And so one thing that I would say to all adoptees is that you don't need anyone else to make you whole. You need yourself, and you need to love yourself and accept yourself for who you are and embrace being different.
So one final note I would like to say is that to all adoptees watching, we are all in this together. I understand what you're going through. You understand what I'm going through. You're not alone. We are always going to be here for you. The adoptee community is so strong and so big, and we're all going through the same things. It may be different, but they're still the same. So we are here for you, and as High School Musical says at the end of their movie, we're all in this together.
But one thing I'm very glad about that I was adopted is really just being able to find the community and finding people that I really trust. And another fun thing is when people are willing to learn about what adoptees go through and actually learning about the sad things we go through, the good things we go through, and they don't automatically put the stereotypes that our life's amazing because we're adopted, that we have to be grateful, which is always a burden sometimes when people say that.
You're not alone. It is okay to feel what you're feeling. You are valid. And I wish you the best of luck on your adoptee journey.
Hey, I am the editor of this entire thing, so I would just like to say a huge thank you to everyone who's contributed to this video. I could not have done this without you. You guys are so special to me. I haven't even met half of you in person, and you just speak to me. I can relate so much to you, and I just wanted to thank you for all of your hard work in helping put this video project together. To all adoptees watching, international or domestic, we are here for you. You are not alone, and I just wanted to let you know that there are always going to be people in your corner, and I hope you all enjoyed watching this video. I enjoyed making it, hearing all the people speaking, and I hope that you all gained something from this. I'm so proud of how it turned out, and I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I did.